Hello students, welcome back to our channel. In the last two videos of the CNS series, we have learned about the brain, and today we will start another important topic, that is spinal cord. So let's see. At first, introduction. The spinal cord is a long cylindrical bundle of nervous tissue that forms the continuation of the medulla oblongata. It serves as the major communication pathway between the brain and the rest of the body and acts as a center for many reflex actions. Then, location and extent. It lies within the vertebral canal of the vertebral column, extends from the foramen magnum of the skull, continues downward up to first or second lumbar vertebra, that is L1 or L2 in adults. Length is approximately 42 to 45 centimeter. Diameter is about 1 centimeter. Now, protection of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is protected by vertebral column. It provides bony protection. Then comes the meninges. Three protective membranes are there. At first, dura mater, which is the tough outer layer. Then arachnoid mater, which is middle wave-like membrane. And then pia mater, which is a thin vascular inner layer attached to the spinal cord. Here you can see this is the dura mater, this pink one. Then below that there is arachnoid mater, and the last one is pia mater. You can remember from inside to outside it is pad. P for pia mater, A for arachnoid mater, D for dura mater. From inside to outside. Then the third is cerebrospinal fluid, present in the subarachnoid space. Functions are shock absorption, nutrient transport, waste removal, and maintains ionic balance of the body. Now, let's see the external structures of the spinal cord. At first, enlargements. Cervical enlargement gives rise to nerves supplying upper limbs. Lumbar enlargement gives rise to nerves supplying lower limb. Terminal structures. Conus medullaris, tapered lower end of the spinal cord. Hilum terminale, it is the fibrous extension from conus medullaris. It anchors spinal cord. Cauda equina, bundle of spinal nerve roots below L1 and L2. Resembles a horse tail. What is the clinical importance? Compression of cauda equina cause severe back pain, weakness of leg, bladder dysfunction, sensory loss. Here in this photo you can see this is the spinal cord. This whole thing in yellow color is the spinal cord. This part is the conus medullaris. After that you can see there are the extensions of the nerve roots which is extended as a tail of the horse. So this is the cauda equina, and at the end here you can see this is the phylum terminal, which is the fibrous extension of the conus medullaris. In this photo you will understand it better. This is the conus medullaris and this is the fibrous extension of conus medullaris, which is the phylum terminal. Now we will see the spinal nerves. Human possess 31 pairs of spinal nerves. There are 8 cervical nerves, 12 thoracic nerves, 5 lumbar nerves, 5 sacral nerves, 1 coccygeal nerve. Total is 31. Here you can see C1 to C4 helps in breathing, C2 head and neck movement, C4 to C6 heart rate. C6 also helps in shoulder movement. C5 wrist and elbow movement. C7 to T1 hand and finger movement. T1 to T12 sympathetic tone include temperature regulation. T2 to T12 trunk stability. T11 L2 ejaculation. L2 HIP motion. L3 knee extension. L4 S1 foot motion. L5 knee flexion. S1 S3 bowel and bladder activity. S1 to S4 sexual function. S5 bowel and bladder activity. And coccygeal is innervating coccygeus and levator any muscle and the skin over the coccyx. Now let's see the internal structure of spinal cord. Cross section shows gray matter, appears H-shaped or butterfly shaped. Here this is the portion of the gray matter which is located centrally, contains neuron cells bodies. Horn of gray matter, posterior or dorsal horn. Here is the posterior horn of the gray matter, this portion. It receives sensory impulses. Anterior or ventral horn. It contains motor neuron cell bodies. This is the anterior horn of the gray matter. Then lateral horn, present mainly in thoracic region. It contains autonomic neurons. Then comes the white matter. It surrounds the gray matter, consists of myelinated nerve fibers, divided into posterior funiculus, lateral funiculus, and anterior funiculus. These contain ascending and descending tracts. Here in this photo, you can see this is the central canal, and this H-shaped portion is the gray matter, and the part that is surrounding the gray matter is the white matter. So this portion is the white matter. This is the posterior horn. This is the anterior horn of the gray matter. In this photo, you can see also these portions are the white matter. This is the dorsal root ganglion. This is the dorsal root. This is the ventral root. This one. In this side also same. This is ventral root. This is dorsal root. And here is the central canal. This is anterior median fissure. And this is posterior median sulcus. This portion. Now let's see the ascending and descending tracts. Ascending tracts, sensory. It carries impulses from body to the brain. Examples are touch, pain, temperature, pressure, proprioception. Then comes the descending tracts, which is the motor tracts. It carries impulses from the brain to the muscle and the glands. Examples are voluntary movements, muscle tone regulation, posture control. Now we will see the functions of the spinal cord. At first, conduction function acts as a communication highway. Sensory pathway is receptor to sensory neuron to spinal cord to the brain. Then comes the motor pathway from the brain to the spinal cord, and through the motor neuron it comes to muscle and the glands. Number 2 is reflex function. It acts as a center for many reflexes, produces rapid response without waiting for the brain processing. Examples are knee jerk, withdrawal reflex, plantar reflex. Now we will see the reflex arc. A reflex arc is the pathway followed during a reflex action. Its components are receptor, sensory neuron, interneuron, motor neuron, and effector. Let's see the flowchart. A stimulus which is taken by the receptor, then the sensory neuron carries it to the spinal cord, which is the interneuron. From the spinal cord, the motor neuron carries the effector signal which comes to the effector and the response is seen. Let's try to understand it with an example. Suppose your hand touches a hot thing. You feel the heat. Here heat is the stimulus. And the receptor present in your hand or the finger sense the heat, and through the sensory neurons it sends it to the spinal cord. From the spinal cord then the motor neuron carries the effector signal and it supplies the muscles of your hand which is the effector, and in the response you remove your hand from that hot thing. Now types of reflexes. At first, monosynaptic reflex. Only one synapse is involved. Examples are knee-jerk reflex. Characteristic: first stage reflex, no interneuron is present. Then polysynaptic reflex. It contains one or more interneurons. Example is withdrawal from the hot object. Characteristics are more complex and slightly slower. Here are some important reflexes for NEET exam. Number one is knee jerk reflex, which is a monosynaptic reflex, ankle jerk, which is monosynaptic reflex, withdrawal reflex, which is polysynaptic reflex, crossed extensor reflex, which is polysynaptic reflex. Now, what is the difference between gray matter and white matter present in brain and the spinal cord? Gray matter in the brain present outside. It surrounds the white matter, which is present inside. And in case of spinal cord, the gray matter is present inside and the white matter surrounds it. So the arrangement of gray matter and white matter is exactly opposite in brain and the spinal cord. Now let's see some clinical significances of the spinal cord. Spinal cord injury. Depending on the level of injury, it is divided into three parts. Cervical injury may cause quadriplegia, thoracic injury which cause paralysis of trunk and legs, and lumbar injury which cause lower limb dysfunction. There are two types of paralysis. One is paraplegia, paralysis of both lower limbs, and there is quadriplegia or tetraplegia, paralysis of all four limbs. Here are some lines which are important for the NEET exams. The spinal cord extends from medulla oblongata to L1 L2 vertebra, protected by vertebral column, meninges and cerebrospinal fluid, contains 31 pair of spinal nerves. Gray matter is central, butterfly shaped. White matter is peripheral. Dorsal root is sensory, ventral root is motor. Dorsal root ganglion contains sensory neuron cell bodies. Knee jerk reflex is monosynaptic. Withdrawal reflex is polysynaptic. And spinal cord functions as both a conduction pathway and reflex center. Quick revision flowchart. So the spinal cord, the protections are vertebral column, meninges, cerebrospinal fluid. Internal structure, gray matter inside and surrounding it there is white matter outside. Spinal nerves, dorsal root which is the sensory nerves, ventral root which is the motor nerves. Function is conduction and reflex action. Reflex arc consists of receptor, sensory neuron, interneuron, motor neuron and effector. Now we will discuss about neuroglial cells of the central nervous system. At first, astrocyte. It supports neuron and blood-brain barrier. Oligodendrocyte form myelin sheath in the CNS. Microglia, phagocytosis and immune defense. Ependymal cells. It lines ventricles and help cerebrospinal fluid circulation. Now, what is the difference between gray matter and white matter? In composition, gray matter consists of cell bodies. White matter consists of myelinated axons. Color gray, white. Function is, in case of gray matter it is processing and white matter signal transmission. Brain location, outer cortex, white matter inner region. Spinal cord location, gray matter inner region, white matter outer region. Now we will discuss about the cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves originating from the brain. Functions are sensory, motor, and mixed, which is both sensory and motor. Now, let's see the 12 cranial nerves, their name, type, and function. Before that, it is very important to know that cranial nerves arises directly from the brain and the brain stem. Easy mnemonic is O O O, to touch and feel very good velvet. Ah. Number one is olfactory nerve, which is O. Type is sensory. Main function, sense of smell, olfaction. Then another O is optic nerve, which is again a sensory nerve and main function is vision. Then oculomotor nerve, which is a motor nerve. Its functions are eye movements, eyelid elevation, pupil constriction. Number 4 is trochlear nerve. It is a motor nerve. It moves eyeball downward and laterally, superior oblique muscles. Then touch is trigeminal nerve, which is a mixed nerve. Main function is facial sensation, chewing, mastication. Abducens nerve, which is the motor nerve. Main function is lateral movement of eyeball. Number 7, facial nerve, which is a mixed nerve. Facial expression, taste from anterior two-third tongue, salivation and lacrimation. Number 8, vestibulocochlear nerve. It is a sensory nerve, helps in hearing and balance. Number 9 is glossopharyngeal nerve, which is a mixed nerve, taste from posterior one-third of the tongue and swallowing and salivation. Number 10, vagus nerve, which is a mixed nerve. It controls heart, lungs, digestive tract, swallowing and speech. Then accessory nerve, which is a motor nerve. Movement of neck and shoulder is its main function. Hypoglossal nerve, which is a motor nerve. Function is tongue movement. Here is a mnemonic for the types of the nerve. You can remember it to make it easy. So this is all for today. In the next video, we will learn about the limbic system. It will be most probably the last video of the CNS series. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe our channel. For more interesting biology videos, stay connected with us.